Check.
Oi, oi.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, Jochen.
Hello.
Hello.
Good to see you all.
You too.
See you too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, just for the record, I'll introduce everybody, but the name tags are already in. So, anyway, Charlton, what's up?
Oh, good man. I'm good.
Charlton is joining us from Rotterdam, from actually another bunker, just a bit down the road, I guess.
The west side. You're
West
on
side.
the center. You're on the center. I'm in the west side.
Yeah. West side, man.
West side.
Yeah. What's the sign for West side?
West coast, right? West side.
Yeah. Do we have a Rotterdam sign for West side though?
Is there a Rotterdam sign? I don't know. Maybe
No,
the
me
kids
neither.
nowadays.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's invent one. Let's think about one. By the end of the show, we should.
By the
have
end of the show, yes.
Cool. Well, great to have you on, man. I see. Hey, Ricky showing up. Ricky the Dragon. Hey.
Ricky, my old neighbor from. He was my old neighbor next door, but now somebody else moved into the studio next door.
Nice.
Fun, yeah.
Good to see Ricky in the comments. Nice one. Okay, and Lady Starlight is joining us again.
Hello.
Hey,
Good to be
hey,
back.
Colleen. Nice to see you again. Good to have you again. And Jamie also joining us from Berlin, sitting in his spaceship. Welcome. Welcome, Jamie. How have you been, man?
I'm good, man. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's nice to be here. Nice to finally be talking to people.
Yeah, well, it's the whole point, right, of this chat. You know, just to keep in touch and talk about music and stuff. Last time I saw you was actually not so long ago, right? In Den Bosch in Willem II.
Oh yeah. I remember. I was there. I was there picking up a sink.
Yeah, what? Tell me that story, because who drives like 700 kilometers to pick up a sink?
Mate, it was 8 hours.
8 hours.
Jamie does.
Yeah, I'm picking up a sink. No. Me and my partner, we opened up a restaurant in Berlin, and we were building it. So, and you have in Den Bosch, you have really nice sinks. So, yeah, crazy. I'll never do it again, man. I'm telling you, nightmare.
Did you drive straight back?
Yeah.
Oh, that's you're crazy.
It was awful. But yeah. So anyway, yeah, and that's. But we did a quick stop in Willem II. Twee,
Willem II, yeah.
Yeah, it was nice. I love that place. It's cool.
Yeah, was the sink worth it though?
Yeah, it is, man. It's really worth it. I mean, you know, if you like to wash your hands with a little bit of luxury. Anyway, it's just you have they have like this place there. I mean, should we be talking about sinks? Is that all right?
If you want to.
Yeah, but anyway, let's just put a pin in that one. Let's move on.
Okay, fine. Okay, but it was good to briefly see you. I was working there with Albert van Albe, and actually you visited that place as well, right? To work.
Yeah. I did it. I went there as part of Drift Festival. And then I got to see that. I would like to go back again though when everything's possible. Because I spent 5 days there, but I really wanted to use the test equipment they have there, that big room with all the old stuff from the 50s, 60s. But I don't think 5 days was enough. So, but I got some pretty cool stuff there. I actually wrote an EP from a lot of that stuff. So it was worth it, actually. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I recently went back there with for the project I did with Albert. I mean, we've discussed Willem II a few times on this chat, but that room sounds so nice. You know, the one with test equipment. It's got a certain acoustic to it, and it's really great at the moment you're recording there. But when you listen back to your recordings, you actually quite kind of miss those acoustics. You know,
man. Well, it's funny you said that, because I saw that they posted up some pictures where they mic'd up the room.
Yeah, that's what I
it
probably
was
from
like-
my session. Yeah,
Oh, was
because
it, yeah?
I went back
Oh,
with
right.
Albert. Yeah, I went back with Albert because
Ah.
I was missing the acoustics of the room, and you know, tried to kind of recreate that, but it didn't quite work out with artificial reverbs. It's not the same, you know.
No. No.
So we went back there and they helped us setting up the mics and we did some passes and had like 4 stereo tracks of different positions. And it sounds incredible, man. It's like
I know.
If you listen to it now, it's like being back in the room. You know what I mean? It's,
No, exactly. I mean, that was the thing. That was the thing that I missed because I knew when I would get the audio back, it would be really dry. I got it to sound good on my stuff and that, but it was there was just something about that room and really hammering those Mackie. Was it? I think the Mackie monitors, and like I think he put them. I tipped them up on the floor, so it was firing up into the ceiling once. But for some reason, I didn't think to mic up the room. So yeah, maybe next time when I go back, I'll try it out.
Well, the thing is, I think by accident we did the process just in the right order because we recorded it all sort of live in the room while we were discussing what to do next and stuff like that. So like proper, like studio conversations, you know what I mean? And if you mic up the room, those will be recorded as well. So what we did is we recorded all the sessions just straight to hard disk, and we went back when all of the stuff was edited and mixed down, and then we just played back the final tracks into the room and mic those, so there's no chatting and there's nothing. It's just you'll have like a 1 minute pre-roll and then just close the door silently and just have the music play inside the room just to capture the acoustics. And looking back, that was probably the best way to do it. So you don't have to worry about any sort of unwanted sounds in the room to be recorded.
I know I do like it. When you have because I have recorded rooms before, like field recordings or whatever, and I do like it sometimes when you hear a voice or there's a rustle about, or someone puts the teacup down, and then when you time stretch that or you pitch it down, and then all of a sudden that teacup sounds like a kick or something, or that someone's like. I actually really like to piss around with while the stuff recorded, because you can get some interesting stuff from that. I think
absolutely,
It depends what you want, I guess. But
if it's intentional, if you're field recording to get sounds, just to find sounds basically, then that works. But if you just want to capture acoustics, I guess you have to be smart about it and don't get the incidental unwanted sounds.
Yeah, sure.
So Charlton, you are in that bunker. Have you ever used the acoustics of the building there?
Not really, but when I'm walking around here during the night, it sounds quite interesting. And I just recently took my recorder here, so it's quite a big building also. So it's this the bunker, and then I think this was an old nuclear power station or something, but they got rid of it and they cleaned the ground up. So. And on the other side, there's like boats, so it's like the harbor. So it's in the West Harbor. So it's quite interesting. You when you go for a smoke outside, you hear like plenty of sounds, especially now with there's no people coming around because of the curfew clock. So it's totally quiet.
You should use that opportunity, man.
Yeah. I might do it tonight.
Yeah.
Why not? Yeah.
Take a break during knob twiddlers.
Yeah.
Be right back.
Yeah. Oh, so that's basically that's where I am at the moment, and I locked myself here because I cannot write myself a letter or something. So yeah, it's an interesting place, and just getting around, making a lot of music here. So it's what counts basically, I guess.
Yeah.
Can you? Is it possible to? You're on Wi-Fi, right? So you can kind of show us your setup. Yeah, I would love to see it.
Like that.
Ooh.
Nice.
I've got some rec gear in here, a little bit. So just a couple of keyboards laying around. Kawai K1. Use a Micro Freak lately, and a lot of Bustle.
Yeah. Did you get the software update for the Micro Freak?
Yes, it's amazing, is it? Like they put some new things from noise engineering in there, so it's pretty out there. It's pretty wild, pretty cool synth. Yeah.
Yeah, I was doing this live jam with Steve Rachmat and Colin Benders last weekend, and I kind of dismissed that Micro Freak for a while, but Steve had it with him. And he was getting all these really nice sort of duotonic Detroity sounds from it. There's your food. There's your food.
Right, see you later, Charlton.
Yeah.
As a neighbour, it's nice to not be alone actually tonight. So it means there's somebody here.
Well, invite them in.
Yeah, I should actually. I should grab my food maybe, if you don't mind, because I'm starving. I cannot even hear myself think. one second, yeah. Sorry.
Go for it.
Timed that perfectly.
It could have been a little earlier, you know. Yeah. As soon as it started, would have been maybe
exactly
more perfect or imperfect.
Let's just have Charlton sort out his food and maybe talk about Jamie's studio in the meantime. I see a lot of blinking lights.
Yeah, if it's annoying, I can switch it off. Is it annoying anybody?
No, it's cool. It looks really Star Trek-y.
I was pissing around before we came on.
So is that all? Is that all Eurorack that behind you, or is it just one massive modular, or is it?
No, this is I have it in I got a custom. I did with a friend of mine. We built a custom desk.
Oh, nice.
And instead of putting a mixer in the middle for the speakers, so you can see the speakers. I put the modular in the middle because finite details with modulars is really important. It's really important that you can hear the full mix when you're playing a modular, I think, when you're really wanting to mix on a modular as well. If you do that, or I do that quite a lot. So we put the modular in the middle, and it's actually great. And I have the racks on either side, so I can also process the modular quite quick and not have to dip across the rooms. And blah, blah, blah. So so this is like the I'm here like most of the time actually. So in the middle.
Cool. Yeah, I don't think I've ever anybody see. I didn't see anybody who has that setup, like with the modulars just between the speakers. Usually it's on the side and they have like a mixing desk or the computer between the speakers or something.
Sure. Well, I mean, if you work a lot on a modular, you should try it.
Makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. Absolutely.
Because you know how it is, man, with a modular. If especially with the filters are so good or whatever, the pitch to hear the pitches properly and stuff, you need to be between the speakers. And if you want to get the mix sounding really good, then you can't be at the side. You can't, So it was really important for me to have it in the middle. And once I did that, it changed everything for me. And I do a lot of like just single recordings, like one shot recordings or loop. I just grab a stereo recorder, or sometimes I just press start on the recorder and then I just piss around for a little bit and chop a lot of stuff in Ableton. So I don't just work with a modular sometimes, but even those points where you're just recording sample material for the computer, it's really important to be able to hear actually what you're doing with a modular, because the differences are so finite and small, and they can really it's nice. It's just nice to hear what you're doing and not be at the other side of the room,
So do you have a second pair of speakers behind your computer then? You just rely on one pair of monitors for everything?
I with the computer I have the little thing here, so I'm building on the computer, and then that's quite annoying for me because I'm like kind of like doing this a lot, but the thing is I've got a really bad right ear. and my left ear is really the only one that works properly. Yeah, I know. And so that's actually, it's not so bad. But like, obviously, it works for you. It works. But yeah,
you would never tell from listening to your music.
Man, I'm not deaf in the right ear. I have a really bad high cut on it.
Right.
But it's really important that I can still hear stereo field, because I can hear stereo, obviously.
Yeah.
And you know, the brain does some weird things. I've noticed. If you just have one ear and a damaged second ear or right ear or whatever, your brain tries to like create some weird compensates by creating some weird pseudo stereo. And I really hear this, and so I still have to be really in the center to get like everything perfect, you know.
Okay.
So yeah, I try to not build too much on the computer. But yeah, so that's my setup.
Wow, I mean, it's to be honest, it's a it's a worrying and heartbreaking story that you have your ear damage, but at the same time, you know, you would never tell. From your music, and I know what you mean by the brain kind of compensating for stuff that you are missing, because I haven't had my hearing measured for a while, but I know I'm missing something, but I'm still capable, I guess, because it's also, you know, the way you train your hearing, right? It's not only what you can actually, you know, physically perceive, but also how you process the information.
Yeah,
You know, how your brain processes the information, what you will eventually hear, basically. So yeah, and it's I mean, it's instrumental music, so everything is highly suggestive anyway.
Yeah,
if you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, for sure, man. You know, I always find it really interesting. Sometimes if I don't work in the nighttime, usually, because I hear music a lot faster in the night than when I do in the daytime. I don't know. Does anyone else get that?
Faster? You mean like in tempo faster?
The tempo, everything. Tempo.
You perceive it to be faster?
Yeah, the tonality for me changes as well.
Wow.
So if I write, I really avoid it in the night, because I don't really write that good music in the night time. Yeah, but get me in the studio. Get me in the studio at 9 o'clock in the morning. It's like, but I can't do it at the night. So I just
if you write a track at night and you'll listen in the morning, it's all pitched down, different. Really, but it's slow.
It's slow. It's pitched down. Things are a little bit out of tune. It's like, no, really. I don't know why, but I really perceive it completely different in the night time.
Wow. Okay.
So I don't know, man. I'm just fucking weird. I'm not sure.
We're all weird.
Anyway,
who cares? I mean, it's I guess it's the end result that counts, I guess. But and there are many stories about you know, partly or completely deaf composers who've made some amazing stuff, you know. But I don't know, you know.
Yeah, I mean, a good example is Mahler. You know, the dubstep producer, Mahler. Mm-hmm. He's deaf in one ear, and for me, he's he's an amazing producer. It's clearly not affected him at all. So, and yeah, so you can do stuff. If you have got damaged hearing, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
But it's a shame.
Yeah, I mean,
Jamie, did you have this? Did it something that happened, or did you always have? It was two things. I used to play in a lot of bands when I was younger, and I was sound checking, and I was a drummer, and I was a really bad sound engineer, and I don't know exactly what happened, but the speaker blew up in my ear. Oof. And it kind of like the shield. Like the speaker popped out the shield and it hit me in the head.
What?
And it was really hardcore. Like it kind of
blew up.
Yeah, it kind of exploded. Yeah, and I couldn't hear for like a week, and then after that, and it wasn't actually what really damaged the ear. What I didn't think anyway. And then 5 years ago, I got an infection in the middle ear. And it went into my right ear, and it ate away a lot of the stuff in my ear, and it got really hardcore. And then
And then after that, it never recovered. So then I went to the hospital, and they said I've got a 46 dB cut in everything from everything above 4K.
Wow.
So it's not nice. So if I close my other ear, it really, I don't like to do it because it upsets me. It's like really like, oh no. And also, you know, like I think years and years of like 10 years blasting the headphones on the DJ mixer, I mix with my right ear. Also not helped. So you know, you gotta be really careful, man. Yeah. I mean, if you don't, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to be deaf in that ear when I'm older. And that's just so rubbish. That's so rubbish. But, you know, life on life's terms, isn't it?
Exactly.
You know, so,
it doesn't affect you as a producer, so.
No. So
how's everybody else's hearing? Do you have any problems with your hearing, Colleen?
No.
Are you okay?
I'm okay, but I do have a really uneven ears, like any earplugs. Like one is super, super small and one is really big. So I have like
physically, you mean?
Yeah, like really a small ear canal here and a really big one. So
okay. Well, I mean, at least you always find the right one to plug in straight away.
Exactly.
You know? The small one goes here.
Yeah, exactly. It's true. I was like, what is wrong with my deformed ear canals? But owls, you know, I think about owls have like, I think all owls have like uneven ears they can hear, not just, and they have like the best hearing, so that they can hear where something is above or below them and not just hear it. So
you mean like it's like
Yeah.
It's like cross-referencing the two inputs, basically. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Exactly. So
really?
owls,
Fuck.
yeah. They're like, they know exactly where it is. So uneven hearing actually can help you hear in more spatial things.
Oh, wow.
So it might help
Hey, Jamie, there you go.
I know.
Yeah,
That's what I was thinking.
No, it's interesting. It is interesting because, I am very. I mean, it's almost like, you know, people who have two sets of monitors, right? So I'm finding myself a lot. If I'm mixing, I'm turning my head a lot. I'm turning like this. I'm turning like this, and I'm adjusting the mix to both of my ears.
Mm-hmm.
And I find a nice balance there. So yeah, I'm not condoning having damaged ears, but it's definitely. I think it has helped me a little bit. Helped my music, my mixes maybe, to have like this internal difference.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe like you say, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm just kind of guessing, really. But So.
That's interesting. I mean, if you think about it, you know, instead of having two sets of monitors, having two kind of two different perceptions of what you're doing, you're still doing the same thing, right? Like comparing the I don't know. It's interesting. Never really thought about that in that way. But anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, like you said, it's you're not condoning it, but it's workable.
No, it is workable. Well, I mean, you know, it's a shame.
But training. But I mean, you know, the thing is, I've always valued like a trained hearing more than the actual quality of your hearing, you know, because I know from myself, from my experience, I hear things that nobody else hears, you know.
Exactly.
And I've been in so many situations where I was sitting behind monitors and I was like, oh, that frequency peak there, you know, that's just really annoying me, and that should go, and I really have to kind of zoom in and point it out by boosting a certain range, you know. There it is, you know. And the other person wouldn't hear it, and it was just sticking out very apparently to me, you know. And I don't know if that's that's the consequence of my hearing being damaged or not, or my perception. But at the same time, I know that that you know, the slightest difference in pressure in sound in any region of the sound, you know, I can pick it out, you know, and it's just because I listen to sound so much, you know, so much time of my life, and try to analyze what's going on. So it's certainly something that has to do with, you know, training, I guess.
Well, I mean, for instance, everybody, I think your music reflects your internal, the way that your ears are shaped. I mean,
That's
if you have
true.
two monitors that look identical, I mean, you can buy two monitors that look identical at the same price by different manufacturers. They're in wood boxes. They have the cone, blah blah blah, but they will sound completely different.
Mm.
So the same should be true for people's ears. The difference should be even more, actually. So this idea that everybody's hearing the same thing I don't think that's possible, no?
Mm.
So
you never know.
Yeah, you don't know. You don't know.
We
It's
never
like
will.
that whole question of like, what is your red? Is your red the same as my red?
Yeah. It's like, are you
And it's
conscious?
Yeah. But it's got to be the same. It's got to be the same for music. So.
Yeah, but there is like
sound.
an agreeable standard, There's an agreeable standard that works for most people. So that's how you mix. Basically, you mix so everybody perceives it the way you've intended it, and also you mix it so it basically translates that thing that you intended on most other systems. You can have it sound really good on a PA system or on some really expensive studio monitors, but if it doesn't play well on on an iPhone, headphones or like a car stereo or whatever, then you're missing the point. So it should kind of be in that sort of agreed average of how sound translates to other. Yeah.
Well, you quickly touched upon like mixing. I mean, it's like I think the most important thing for me was also learning how to use visual tools to mix. Spectrograph, whatever, and then later on learning, how to read dynamics properly visually, like with something that reads dynamics, gives you a number readout. I use these tools a lot. So
can you give some examples? What kind of stuff are you using to aid your?
Well, for me, actually, spectrograph-wise, I got so used to the Ableton one, so I use that. But there's one called it's the adapter metric A and B I use, and this gives you a spectrograph. It gives you a dynamic readout. It gives you a real measurement and a loudness. And these are really essential tools for me. I don't do it on mixing when I'm mixing, but when I'm doing the overall master of my track, because I also heavily process the master bus, externally and internally. I get best of both worlds from the analog stuff and the I never limit on an analog because for me analog limiters are terrible. I always limit on the computer or whatever. And if you're doing that on a computer, or even on with the analog stuff, it's good to use visual aids because nobody's ears are perfect. And so this is really important. I think to learn how to do it properly is a really, really, it's almost as important as learning how to mix, learning how to produce. Sorry, if you want the track to sound really good, that's what I've learned anyway. So. So it's not just about
it's always a matter of getting your idea across, right? So if you have a wonderful idea and it's going to sound shit to other people because you don't mix it right, there's no point,
You lose the energy. And you lose the creative energy of what you've just done because it's not translating properly on a system or whatever.
Would you say you're more like when you're mixing, are you taking the scientific approach all the way, or are you also still using your sort of intuition and mixing for vibe? I find myself mixing for vibe a lot more to be honest.
No, it's all for vibe, but that vibe has to be within thresholds that work.
Yeah.
Like there's threshold that really works. no, but I'm a firm believer that there's no rules whatsoever.
Oh yeah.
As long as it's in the threshold.
Yeah. Okay, if we would have titles for episodes, this one would be called "The Threshold of Vibe."
Yeah, the vibe threshold.
The vibe threshold.
Yeah, but you know.
So, Charlton, are you
Yes.
a vibe guy or an analytical guy?
Vibey.
Yeah,
Vibey. I just, I'm mixed on the vibe. So I'm not really, I'm not that technical with like mixing and that, but I just do it on my ears. My ears are actually quite normal still, I guess. No beeps or no tinnitus or. So
You don't
I'm
have
actually,
tinnitus?
nah, man.
You lucky guy.
I don't know. I've definitely, mishandled my ears, but I think I'm quite lucky, man. Yeah.
Nice.
So-
Good, man.
good genetics.
And it also had
good
to
genes.
do with. It also had to do that I was basically mixing in Ableton for 10 years, so I didn't have to wear any headphones for about 10 years. So maybe that's a little thing, that saved my ears. But now
Yeah,
I
man.
do, so maybe it goes terrible now. But yeah, no, I'm definitely on a mixy vibe, man. I just try to, make it sound all right for me, and just bit like you, both, like computer wise, and I throw some stuff through the mixer. So yeah, it's just vibing, man, and it's basically what I do. It's just quite. You try. Sometimes you overmix something, and then I always get back to the first few raw mixes. Of when I mix down a track.
Mm.
So you got a couple of mixes, and then I almost go back to the first one because
I do that.
that's the vibe. That's the
That's
vibe,
funny.
right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
It's
What's
really
the vibe?
funny. It's really funny you say that. That's been said by so many people on the chat. They, it's like the sort of idea that you can get it better, and you don't want to give up improving it, but at the same time, the more iterations you generate from the same track, or the same piece of music, some of the stuff that was getting you going in the earlier stages kind of slowly starts to disappear, and then you find yourself go back to the earlier one and just roughly fix it, and that's it.
Yeah.
But the idea that you can improve it is always driving you to still try.
But sometimes you overmix it and then it goes totally dead. Like and I'm thinking, oh man, this actually sounds terrible now. So maybe I should listen back 3 versions before, and then mostly I get the vibe again. So I'm definitely a vibe mixer.
I think you can. I think you can mix. You can overmix the soul out of music. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Like you just strip yourself out of it because you're like, no, this needs to be like this. This needs to be like this. I mean, I'll not mention any names, but I one time saw.
Come on.
Oh no. So I heard a track and it was killer, and then a week later, the guy sent me the track again with mix 96. It's like 96 versions. And it's just like what the fuck? And he sounded worse. He sounded worse, and you could hear from gradual like progression of like blah, 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 just stripping the identity out of the track.
Overthinking,
and like killing it. It's like it might sound brighter, it might sound whatever. But what have you sacrificed for this perceived idea of where it should be?
I think to be honest, people, this is a really important skill. Knowing when to stop and what to sacrifice and what to keep. That's probably more important than the actual mixing skills. You can try stuff out. Maybe improve like things that are sort of more analytic in an analytical way. You can improve things and getting things better. But sound is funny sometimes. It's even though it's like against the rules, you can have like something going on above 10k or under 20 hertz. And if you remove it, it might just destroy everything, or it might completely change the context in how you hear things, and I don't know, that's one example. It can be because of the balance, or some stuff that is doing things which are undesirable from a scientific point of view, but still contribute to the overall vibe of the track, so it's like a snare with a lot of sub bass or something. Sometimes that just works.
I'm not going to let all my secrets out, but you should never cut too much bass out of any element in your track, because you're removing the presence of it, not presence, but whatever the body of it,
impact, whatever.
It's like you shouldn't don't go too crazy with the EQs, like on the top and the bottom. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
let's answer this question from Eric. Eric Demon is dropping in, asking, when is a track done? Are there any signs? Well, it's a good one. What would you say, Colleen? When is it done?
As quick as possible.
Yeah.
Quick as possible.
But the signs. What are the signs? What are the signs when it's done? What do you need to feel, or what do you need to hear when you decide this is done?
Yeah, I guess it's just like cutting what doesn't need to be there, and not cutting what does, and figuring out what those things are for the individual track. And when you've gotten like the balance of all of that stuff together, of you hearing everything that is you want to hear in the right place, I guess that would be what's done to me.
Yeah, sure. But and the sign, what is the sign?
Well, I don't, I do all my stuff, just record like not one time. Of course, I do a few different takes, but I don't record it until it's already almost done in my mind. Like, I never do arranging in Ableton.
So you basically you just program everything in your hardware, and you perform it a few times, and when you think, okay, I've got it rehearsed, I've got it down.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So it's kind of already done before I get in and start EQing it properly. Nice. So the idea is all there.
That's a really quick way.
This is a good way, man. I really into this thing, I mean, the only I think for me the only way I would like to go, well, I use a computer, is because there's so much creative stuff you can do. But I used to do a lot of like Colleen does it, just one takes and stuff, and it's such a liberating feeling. And also, like you said, and you can get to that point really quickly where you're like, all right, it's done now, let's record it. So like you record and then it's done, and that's the point. Exactly. That's the feeling, because so it's simple.
Would that be like a stereo recording, or would that be something would you still multi-track it, and so you have a chance to kind of fix things up afterwards, or is it just stereo out, hit play, perform the track, done?
I do it. I have 3 different tracks. I have one for the leads, and then kick drum, and then the percussion.
Okay, so you do 3. Stem them out. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right.
I've done both ways, like stereo, but then I start thinking, sounds a bit dodgy, so I have to record back into stems. So now I record stems, and then I've got the vibe, and then maybe I cut something out or something, but I do it quite quick recently again, because otherwise I overproduce, man, in my head. It's just not, and I'm a quite hyperactive guy anyway, so I do everything quite quick. Yeah. Yeah, man.
Yeah, but the best tracks are always the quickest ones, man. This is so true. It's so true. I've never met a person who said that the best, unless any of you guys have, where their best track or their most popular track wasn't one of the quickest ones that they ever produced.
Version 96.
Yeah, well, it definitely wasn't. Because I got to a point now where if I usually maybe write 1.5 tracks a day, and if I haven't got something done that day, then I don't go back to it the next day. The next day, usually, if I get a track done and it's taken me a day, then the only time I'll touch it the next day is if I need to mix and master it a little bit. But that's it.
With fresh ears, I guess, right?
Yeah, fresh ears. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do you separate those those jobs like really clearly? Like you have a
No.
sort of creative time and a recording time and an
No.
admin or sort of touching up time or something?
No, I have the
I
master
usually
chain.
do.
The master chain is exactly how it will be recorded. I color the tracks individually. I color it on the master thing. I mix for color and attitude rather than like thingy. So I'm just constantly changing everything. So how I'm mixing, when I'm mixing it and the master chain, it's all set to the final version. So I think it's really. I mean, also I people were telling me also when I was younger, oh, you should always keep the master clean. Don't put a limiter on it. Don't put a compressor on it. And I'm like, that's bullshit, man. You do what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, and I'm always put it don't matter to me if my compressor on the main channel is hitting -10, -12 dB. If it sounds good, it sounds good.
The thing is, though, I mean, I think that comes from mainly from mastering people, you know, who have a point because they get stuff sent, which is like, you know, basically just if you look at the waveform, it's like a sausage, you know.
This was
basically with all the dynamics removed. But if you use like a master bus and there is like heavy compression on there just for the vibe, and if you keep like a couple of dBs or, you know, like 6 dB headroom just to have some room for anybody who's working on your stuff afterwards to kind of improve it or to bring it up to industry standard levels, then it's fine.
Yeah, you should always consider that though. I think that's part of the process, you know.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that you're right. It doesn't mean you can't put anything in your master bus. You can, you know, process the fuck out of it if that's making the track better, you know. That's fine. As long as, I mean, I think that argument comes from again, from mastering guys who just are, you know,
sick
basically have their but their hands are basically
so bored of the limited track.
I mean, you leave no space for them to improve anything because there's, you know, the dynamics are gone. And the only thing they can do is just, you know, turn it down again, you know, and it's just sort of reinvent dynamics with transient designers and shit like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, But yeah, you're right. There's no rule for that. If you
know, there shouldn't be any rules. Like I was saying, where there's a threshold, you know. But you know, if you mix for color and like how you feel with the music, as long as you're using a visual aid to give you the right numbers, like all right, okay, I've still got some headroom. It's not totally squashed. Mm-hmm. You know, these visual tools can really help you stay in the framework where you can really push it how you want to push it, but you're not totally fucking the track up. You know?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And because your ears can't really perceive this tiny things so well. So if you're using both together, this is a really good technique.
Yeah.
So.
Question from Yannick. Hey, what's up, Yannick? Do you aim for a specific loudness pre-mastering, like when you pre-master your track? A specific loudness? I don't know. What do you think? Is that something you have in mind?
I do -6. That's my
-6.
Yeah.
Everyone does the same.
-6. Maybe I used to do -3, you know. But if you give the pre-master a -6, you get quite good of a master back most of the times, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, there was another question. Sander, bring it back in because this is maybe a good one. For headroom, can you bring the master down -6 dB? Well. It's not. The point is not to have a recording which is -6. The point is to have, you know, like leave your dynamics intact in your pre-master, you know. So don't limit the fuck out of it. So there is no dynamics anymore. Just have, you know, you can have compression, and you could even have some mild limiting. I don't know, but you know, stay away from limiting a little bit, you know. But the point is to retain the dynamics in the music, you know. So and like Jamie said, you don't always really hear it. You know, there can be some peaks going on, which are like apparent peaks in the music, but they are still peaks in the audio. And it's better just to leave those in, you know, just to have the room to adjust that in the mastering stage, basically.
Yeah, but there's also
I think Charlton is starting his dinner.
Is that his dinner? You got some chips, man.
I already ate those in between.
Yeah, I bet you did. Yeah, but you know, going back there, there's also the flip to that, because also like me, if you've got a big pair of speakers or whatever, or you are lucky enough to be able to write tracks with some serious volume, like in your studio, you can have too much dynamic and you'll not hear it as well. So
that's
these
true.
tools also help for these, because you know you've got that kicking, you're like, oh, that's punching really well, or you know the bass line's really like, it's not squashed, but it sounds loud enough to me. But then you realise you've made the whole track on like super loud. And it's too dynamic, and you play it in a club, and it has no energy, or whatever, you know.
Yeah, true. Yeah, but I mean, I think, sure. But this question was like, okay, if you mix your track and it's like pushing the 0 dB all the time, if you just turn down your master, does that solve the problem? And the answer is no.
No. Because you still get like a waveform that's totally squashed without any dynamics, right? Like big fart. Something like that.
Sausages. Oh, friends from Antwerp are dropping in. If I'm correct, this is Pattern. This is Robert. He says, when you master, are you mastering for digital or vinyl? When both are releasing. Well, okay. I guess, you know, the digital master is the one that goes on all the digital formats, and digital has no limits as it comes to stereo width in lower regions, and it can basically still play stuff over 10K. If something needs to go on vinyl just has a physical limitation. There's just no. Maybe Jamie can also talk about that, because we're both cutting vinyl. You know, there are frequencies that just don't stick to vinyl. You know, anything over 10K is going to sound, you know, terrible. It's just making the stylus of the cutter head you know, go crazy and stuff. And same is true for anything under. Probably you have to get a roll from everything under, you know, 80 hertz or something. You don't really have to make it disappear, but you have to kind of roll it off, because it's just gonna take up so much bandwidth in the waveform. But the vinyl master is basically just to make sure the vinyl sounds as good as the digital master without the frequencies that it cannot carry. You know, that's basically the point. So it's not about making a different master, different sounding master. It's just making sure that the vinyl sounds basically like the digital master without the frequencies that stick to vinyl. That's basically the whole thing. So you can use a digital master for vinyl, but you just have to treat it a little bit. You have to just roll off the highs and the lows a little bit to be able to cut it. If you wouldn't do that, you'll lose like a few dBs and your record will be really quiet. Right, Jamie?
Yeah, you've pretty much said everything there. Yeah. Okay. No, I mean, there's only really, you know, also you can't the stereo field is also reduced a little bit for a few different reasons. You know, obviously a bass has to be in mono. Everything below, they say 250, but I go 500. Everything below 500 hertz, I mono. I have a weird thing where I really spread everything from like 4 to 7 hertz, or maybe maximum usually to the end of the thing.
You widen the stereo.
You widen it, yeah. And then mono up to 500. It works sometimes, and maybe sometimes it doesn't. So it depends on the track. I usually just like for the hi-hats, because it kind of like brings the record to life a little bit when they're more spread.
Actually, Jamie, meet Fritz. Fritz in the comments. He's the person here at Stoor who cuts the records. So.
Oh yeah. Oh well.
Fritz, Jamie, Fritz.
Hey. You know, temperature for me is a nightmare, because I'm pretty sure my unit's not functioning properly. So I don't know what temperature it is, and it changes daily, actually.
True.
So so sometimes I'm having it on hardly anything. So it's like between 30, and then some days I've even had it really hot. Sorry, I'm trapped here a little bit on my chair. Sorry. And then some days I can't even use it at all. I burnt so many styluses with this thing. So and sometimes it makes the record sound shit, and sometimes it doesn't. So it's really, I'm really like turning the temperature up gradually.
We should bring in Fritz in the conversation afterwards, because I think we found
you found a spot.
Yeah, we found a spot.
Good.
Yeah, I mean the surface of the record needs to be like 46 degrees. Exactly, and the stylus heating depends on the age of the stylus, you know. When it's new, you can lower the stylus heating, and if it's older, you have to turn it up.
I mean, actually, like when I've got new styluses, I don't use any heating at all. But after the first 5 or 10 cuts, then I start to use it. So it's
anyway,
man, this machine, this is really nerdy. We're only talking about stuff.
Nobody understands this. Sorry, people. We're just nerding.
This is like the
nerd out.
Knob twiddlers.
Yeah.
But anyway, So actually, like, you know, we have the same machine, Joachim and me, and if anyone's really interested in getting it, I guess Joachim maybe has a link or whatever. I don't know.
I would totally discourage people to get into it unless you are seriously, unless you are willing to spend years on this this thing.
Yeah.
It's not like a plug and play thing. It's something that you have to really invest time into, and you know, there's so many variables that are easy to fuck up. You know, there's many. It's a physical process. You know, it's not like recording something to disk. It's actually to hard disk. You know, it's actually a physical process with lots of variables. You know, like temperature, calibration, the material. You know, so all these factors are playing into this, and you have to fuck up all these different variables a few times to actually understand what's going on and to be able to pinpoint any problem. So it takes, I would say, it takes 2 years to reach the level where you can actually make a really good sounding record. You'll be throwing away many blank discs, you know.
It took me 2 years. It took me 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years.
And it was a effing nightmare. It was a nightmare. And you know, but then you also have to have the right equipment in the studio, you know, if you want to do it. I mean, I would, I know what you're going to say, but I would encourage people to do it because it makes you it's made me a better producer in some ways. I think it's made me more aware of what I'm doing to my tracks. So I would recommend it if you've got 2 years to burn and whatever. So yeah, and it is fun.
No,
fun.
It's interesting that you're saying it made you a better producer, because I actually it changed my way of looking at a track or a piece of music in several ways. One of which is the format itself. You know, you have like 12 minutes if you want to have a optimum cut. You know, you have to stick to around 12 minutes for one side of vinyl. You can go over it, but you'll be decreasing the quality, or you'll have to sort of, you know, basically it's you have to compromise something if you go over 12 minutes. 14 is doable, but once you get over 14, it's like you have to sacrifice something, you know. So the format itself, if you have 12 minutes, you know, it makes you look at a track differently. It's like you can't I mean, track length is something you start to keep in mind when you're doing something. So you know, if you have one track or two tracks on one side, or sometimes three, the format really sort of determines what you decide in the production, you know, in the arranging stage of whatever you do. And the other thing is that mixing a record, you know, with, like you said, monoing down the bass under a certain frequency, and keeping an eye on stereo spread and the balance between highs and lows, you're eventually going to cut it, so you already try to have the sound to be even enough to stick to vinyl. You know what I mean? It's you're paying more attention to the dynamics and stuff like that. I mean, that's in my case. I don't know about you, Jamie.
Yeah. No,
How did it improve your skills then?
More with I'm from the dynamic side of stuff, and like just paying more attention to what I was doing with bass frequencies, making sure they wasn't flabby, that they were translating well onto the record. Because I mean, a lot of my music, a lot of the bass is quite, I don't know if unambiguous is the right word to use, but it's like it kind of like it's a bit mushy, you know. And infra bass, yeah, everything's a lot more lower down in the frequency spectrum in my stuff.
You're from the UK. What do you expect?
Yeah. So you know, and I really like that sound, but to get it so it's clear and it's functioning on a record actually made my stuff better. And I started to write music without bass. I mean, if you listen to my album, it's not very bass heavy, and you know, but it's very prominent in like the mid bass range, which was entirely because of the whole. I was in the process of learning the lathe, and you know, and then I was like, oh, you know what? Actually, I really like the sound of this stuff where it's not so bassy anymore. You know, I'm getting a nice sound, and so yeah, my album wouldn't have sounded the same if I wasn't getting every day pulling my hair out with this lathe, you know. So yeah, there's a few different. It was like you said, you can't. For me, it wasn't really pinpointing exactly what changed. I think, like anything, when you're learning stuff and when you're getting better or whatever, time, just being with stuff for a long period of time, just eventually changes everything about the way you
absolutely,
work.
yeah. Putting in the hours, man. It's the 10,000 hours rule or whatever. I would say it's 100,000 hours.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll get you to
it. Also, every time you go in the studio, you know, I keep on learning every day. Doesn't matter what, but you know, you do stuff by accident, and then you think, so it's just a whole learning process, you know. Even if you start from the beginning till the end, probably you keep on learning, right? But that's
is there any piece of gear, Charlton, or any studio tool that has changed your way of working?
Two things actually. Is that I went Eurorack now. That totally blew my mind. I was first a bit against it, like because I thought it would be just, you know, pulling cables around, but it's not. It's amazing. It's amazing, and certain outboard effects, you know, like tape delays and digital tape delays and stuff, really made me change my. I think it's more experimental now than ever. Also because of there's no parties or something, so I'm really experimenting right now, you know, with everything, so to speak. And as we were in the studio together, that was also not really normal music, you know. So
no, that's I really enjoyed that session, man. It's I mean, I knew your sort of for techno kind of stuff, you know, but what we did together without a plan, basically, we just pressed start and recorded for, I don't know, 6 hours straight or something.
Maybe 8.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just a massive session. And we went from, there was so much dynamics in the type of stuff we did, you know, like some of it was really, you know, crazy loud, chaotic, and other stuff was really sort of I don't know, almost, I hate to use the word jazz, but it was very sort of you know, very improvised and very
free.
Free, like free form. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I really enjoyed that. It was cool.
Nice experience for me also. So yeah, it was nice. It was super nice, and not a lot. You know, like normally I wouldn't really like release stuff like that or whatever, because mostly people know me from the harder things. But I make so much. I've got a hard drive full of music which I have never even released, but I finish them. But I hardly release any music, which is actually a bit stupid of myself.
Well, just throw it on your Bandcamp.
I'm thinking of throwing some stuff on Bandcamp also. Yeah, probably, because it's just yeah, it's just rotting on my hard drive.
Rotting on your hard drive.
Decomposing.
Decomposing, you know.
Decomposing.
It's like need to dust it down. Yeah, like spider webs on my hard drive.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, that was the whole point of the whole Stoor project, you know, because everybody has got these things that they really like recording, and you know, all these magic studio moments that are not quite fit for an EP that you want to release under your name as your, you know, be part of your profile, but are still just really amazing moments and you know, expressions basically that are worth finding a format for, you know. So that's what we do with the Stoor archive. It's just all these things that happen in this room that are maybe not fit to go into the Beatport top 10, you know, but still are very valuable because it was just a nice moment with a nice person, you know, just good vibe, and I think it's worth, you know, bringing this, you know, releasing these things as well. Colleen, question from Francesco.
Just because I haven't bothered to buy an Octatrack, so I don't have enough money.
But it's a totally different beast, isn't it? I mean,
I know.
Yeah.
I
like the simplicity of the machine drum. Is just, you know, speaking of a piece of equipment that changed the way I, you know, was working, nothing more than electron sequencing. It just like changes the whole way I thought about writing stuff. And yeah, I would like an Octatrack, but part of me doesn't want to spend the time to learn it. You know what I mean? Like everything is so much in a flow of how I'm writing things, and at the moment I just don't want to dedicate a lot of time to learning something new, to be honest. But I will get an Octatrack. But the machine drum has its own thing. Everything sounds really rough on it in a good way.
Never change a winning team, you know. If you can get it done with the machine drum, why not, you know?
Exactly.
I'm pretty scared of the Electron stuff because you go in depth and you have to go in so many menus and I get lost, you know. So I just I use this now. Well, I'll grab it. I use the Toria Squid, basically. Looks like this. So basically, my whole studio is linked up to this via MIDI and CV gates and everything. But I don't even look on the screen anymore. Just record and have fun. So yeah, just a bit.
I think there's a certain type of people who can write music with menu diving, and then there's certain people who don't. And I'm really not into the way the Electron workflow. In fact, the only Electron I really like to use is the model samples, because it's like one knob per function.
Yeah,
and you know, I think you can really. I don't know. Some people not like this. Obviously, not everybody's like this, but you can really take away the creative.
Yeah,
if you're just like.
Well,
it depends on how well you know it. Because for me,
exactly, that's what I was going to say.
It's just putting in the time to learn it, and like, I mean, every day I probably use that thing. So it's like.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know the Octatrack so well. I'm not dissing it, and I know it's an amazing machine. But when you don't have, like, say if you're doing like techno stuff and you like to do live jams and that, like the gear that thing towards like live performance and stuff. So if you don't have one knob per function, how are you really making use of that machine? You know, like from a performance point of view, you know what I mean? But I know you can just assign things to blah blah blah, but you've suddenly got this powerful machine. But like really, you can only use 1/10 of it.
Yeah,
you know, and that to me is just a waste of time. I would rather than make it 3 times bigger and just put loads of knobs on there, or build, or give like an expansion pack with just a row of knobs where you can. That would be perfect.
I know there's a lot of people using these Fader Fox boxes. You know?
Exactly.
They basically
Tony does.
Yeah. You know, Robin uses it as well, and I played a set with Aura, a guy from New York, last weekend.
Oh, that was really cool.
Yeah, and he uses.
That.
Thanks, and he uses one of these Fader Fox massive control units just to get instant access to all the layers of the Octatrack. It makes it really come alive. So I mean, if that's like Jamie, I totally agree with you. It's if you're performing, you want instant access to anything you want to do. You would just want to be able to grab a knob and do it, you know. And especially if your way of performing is really improvisation, like Colleen does and you do, you know, then you really want to have this sort of on the surface access to anything you come up with, you know. Just you really want to be intuitive, be able to and the thing is, if there is a way to reach that level with the Octatracks by, you know, just making it your machine that does everything, and spend hours and hours and hours and days and weeks and years behind the machine, so you get so fast on it that you can actually go to these levels and reach for the knob, you know, instantly, basically, whenever you require. But it takes like, you know, you really have to make it. Well, you really have to make it your main machine, you know.
And also, like, think about how many tracks you've not sacrificed, but you've lost out on by learning that. Man, you know? No, really. Really.
I don't want to learn it.
Yeah, exactly. I've never once read a manual in my entire life. And that's just because, you know, if it's too complicated that I can't really, in the first few days, really get my teeth into it, then it's not going to do anything for me. So, I mean, that's kind of how I like I say, it's my own personal thing, you know, but I like this idea that, you know, you just got things there, you can understand it, and you can really like tame it. You are controlling it, and it's not controlling the way that you work, you know. And this is.
But the thing about I love manuals, because sometimes, like I love them. I'm like, I read them on my Kindle.
When's your birthday?
Because December 23rd.
I have like shelves and shelves of manuals.
On my way. Well, the thing is that you don't know. Sometimes features on a machine will give you ideas. Like so much, sometimes you don't know. It's often, especially the electron stuff, has given me, when I know something's possible, I'm like, oh, I never know I wanted to do that. And even if it's not that feature, it'll start me thinking about something else that I could do in a similar way. So sometimes manuals, for me, inspire creative ideas.
Yeah.
Just by the features themselves.
Nice.
So.
I always check out the manuals. I always check out the manuals to find MIDI CCs, because I want to know where the MIDI CCs go, so I can freak out on it. You know, that's why. But for the rest, like, I'm not really going through the technical bits, or you know, how to switch MIDI or whatever. That's just the only thing I search up, but I don't really go in depth, and I just try to figure it out myself. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Do any of you use the BeatStep Pro? Jamie, do you use it live? BeatStep Pro?
I did once, but it wasn't functioning properly with me. It wasn't. I love that we're in 2021 and there's still machines that don't sync MIDI properly. It's brilliant.
That's one of them.
That's one of them. So, and you know, I got it because I was using Modular in that. And
that's what I was wondering for the Modular. So many people use it, but I've never used it.
Man, simplicity is the key, man. And the moment that you realize that. I mean, for me, the moment I realized that I didn't have to overcomplicate things, the music I was performing live was becoming so more creative and so much more in depth, you know, because I was using my hands more. If that makes sense. So and you know, I when I perform live, I sacrificed the sequencing for looping. So I use a lot more of my body when I was knob twiddling, and looping that up. So I thought, right, I get rid of the complicated fucking sequencer because this is not doing nothing for me. And I just get these areas. I ain't got it here. It's like a big Boss RC505. Got a big effing buttons on it. 5 tracks, stereo tracks. So you just whack the button in the set. You can see it perfectly in the dark. And then
that's a good point.
And then I sacrificed audio looping for sequencing.
So you're having a sequence, and then you're just and then
jamming out on the sequencing, and then instead of like trying to evolve that sequence in a live setting, is just layering loops up. Became more creative for me, and a lot more freeing, because the thing is with live performances, you need space to think, and when you've got 110 dB smashing in your ears, and you maybe
people in front of you like
people like the lights like da 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 da, and then you're a little bit drunk or whatever, and it's like and you can get so easily lost, But when I switched to the looping, it just was like I could take a step back. I could, if I was doing it solo or with Arthur, I could talk to him a little bit and be like, all right, so what do I do next? It gave me that extra 30 seconds to think, right, how do I approach the next 5 minutes?
Yeah. Right. So can you run us through the process there, because you obviously do have stuff that you program on the fly, right? You're making lines of stuff.
Everything.
Do you preview that on the headphones, or you just throw it in and just go with it?
Just throw it in, man.
Really?
Throw it in.
Nice one.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's not nice. It's a little bit. It's like. It sounds really unprofessional, doesn't it? But it's like. I get a sequencer going. I roughly know this stuff, so I know what it's gonna kind of sound like, and
without listening,
and then I'll ease it in just so it's quite low in the mix, but just so I can hear it. Right, okay. And then if it's really bad, then it's out, and then I start again. And this is the beauty of that stuff, because sometimes you get that thing, you're like, oh my god, I weren't fucking expecting that, but it sounds sick. This happens more than the mistakes, for sure. Right, so but this also depends on your setup. You've got, when you're doing a live set, you've done live sets for years. How you set it up, how you prepare, not necessarily prepare like sequencing or whatever, but how you think out the system, how you think out your system is the most important thing you'll ever do. Yeah. So you need to really take time to think, right, how am I going to interact with this machine or machines?
For yourself, right? Like, everybody got their own little ways and things to create a live set, I guess. When I play live, it's basically more. I just go random. I have a sequencer that does random things, and if it sounds alright, I'll hit and miss actually. The hit and miss.
That's the point, huh?
Yeah, that's the point. So,
that's the fun part.
That's the fun part. So I'm doing the hit and miss thing, and programming drums on the fly, and it can all be in basically one or two machines. So it's quite, it's cool. It works out for me, but some people really have the notes with them, and when you have the note and you check what's what, and you
never have notes.
Go through. I've never done that.
So what do you do when you get a miss, Charlton? Do you go with it? Do you still pretend this is okay? This is what I was intentional.
Yeah, man.
Totally.
It's really wicked. And then within 2 minutes it's gone. So you can throw some effects over it and have a little acting, a bit of acting.
Razzle dazzle them.
That's basically the way. It's just all like free form, man. It's fun.
Yeah, you do it without pre-listening as well, right, Colleen? You just throw things in.
Yeah. I can't figure out how to pre-listen, to be honest.
Okay.
I've never been able to figure out how to do it somehow, which I know is really stupid. But yeah, I don't. I just figure, I kind of know basically what it's going to sound like. You know what I mean? You have an idea if you're like, oh, this is probably B, or no, what not work, what doesn't work, certain sequences that you know always work. And then
you basically you take the visual cues of whatever unit you are using. You change the sequence and you think, okay, so this is a low note, this is a higher note, and this is a rest, and blah blah blah, and I'll just throw it in and see what happens. Is that how you do it?
I have a lot of my live set is like a lot of like the bare bones are already set up so that I don't have to stress out in front of a crowd, because nothing is like, when you look stressed, the crowd is not having fun.
Oh yeah.
That's just the one thing. If you start freaking out, people are like, okay, something's wrong, and they shut down, and they're like, you've lost them. So I have to have something that I can, like, if things are going wrong, if some piece of equipment is going wrong, I have something to like fist bump.
Magic fist bump.
And then while I'm fist bumping. So I have a bare bones of things that I know that will keep at least the pace moving. And then I have,
and that's pre-programmed. It's like your rescue sort of
exactly.
Okay.
Almost like a playlist on a DJ set in case everything goes wrong. You don't have to think.
Yeah.
So then I have one sequencer I'm using a lot is on the Euro rack is the Verbose Electronics Voltage Multi-Stage, which is one of the best, my favorite sequencer. It's only, you can have a total of 16 steps, but it's really easy to change the step lengths really quickly. And then that I pretty much just kind of flip around and something cool will happen, especially if I just do a 5-step sequence. That to me always sounds cool, no matter what you do. And you don't need to change a lot of the CD. Yeah, so it always sounds cool. So that one is fun. So, but I have like a base set up, and then I can do things on top. And the things on top, I pretty much have some, see what happens. Sometimes I forget where things are that I have saved, and I think I'm doing the next thing I was supposed to do, and it's not. And then I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll just go with that.
I think I just want, what an important thing about this whole idea of sequencing live and not really knowing what you're doing beforehand. One of the most important parts of that whole thing is that you're removing yourself a little bit from your pre-existing ideas. Like, you're not doing, like, everybody has the same ideas in their head. No matter how creative you think you are, you're always repeating the same shit, especially in life. So one of the main reasons I really got into this idea of improvising live, because you're somehow like unplugging yourself from this, and you're taking this risk, but you're also creating something that you are not fully in control of. And it's again back to this happy accidents thing, you're removing the what's the word, the repetitiveness of your own mind from the creative process, because it's just random a little bit, and this is I think that's one of the most important parts of the whole thing,
Yeah,
and you enjoy it.
I absolutely agree. I mean, I think this is the essence of a live show that is done in such a way that it's surprising for to yourself even. It's within like a framework. It's within a threshold or a limit. So it's not like anything at all can happen. But there's a certain amount of uncertainty basically baked into the system that causes you to kind of be on the tip of your toes. Like you have to kind of rescue yourself out of situations. And you can kind of you end up with these surprise moments, which which are new to you. You know, that they're completely new. They have never existed before, and you have to kind of go with it or rescue yourself out of, and that makes creates a really interesting and exciting dynamic. And if you have everything pre-programmed, you're basically just playing down a playlist, you know, and you know what's going to happen, and there's no tension, there's no danger, there's nothing. There's just playing back, you know, and it's almost like playing back vocals, like playbacking, you know, like and it's
lip syncing.
That's what I mean. Yeah, lip syncing. Yeah,
totally the same. I mean, I just need to go back to that question though. Like, I think there was a question up there.
Yeah, what was it on there?
You think about being in tune or scales, but I mean, this guy knows we're techno producers, right? We don't do tunes.
Only if I would be playing a keyboard or something, but that's totally different music.
Well, actually, I would. I mean, you playing with Pariah quite a bit, you know. So when when you do it together, when I do sets together with other people and they have a clear tune to whatever they're doing, I do pre-listen on my. I usually use a DJ mixer for my live performances because that's just a very intuitive, very straightforward tool.
It's a good one.
I do listen, you know, on my headphones whenever I create a new line, how it's going to relate to whatever's going on already, and I do take the tune into the consideration. You know, it can't be like just one semitone off or something. But then again, if you're playing at a PA system, because of the acoustics and the loudness, you know, you might misguess the tuning anyway. Exactly. So it's like, so you might, you know, the best strategy is to go way off of whatever the other person is doing. You know, just do something completely different, which is not in tune at all, and it's going to sound better than if you try to tune it to something that's already going on.
I also had that experience. We were using quantizers, and man, you know, we even had some really effed up settings where we were having like quantizers coming from an audio out and coming in here and like figuring out the pitch. I mean, I can't really remember how it was, but it was really like we were really obsessed with getting like, right, let's get everything in key. That sounded shit. Yeah. And it was really bad. There was no, like I said again, stripping the soul out of the music, you know. So like having like these, you know,
and also you can never guess it right because there's just no way.
It's not hard to tune your oscillator a little bit. You might get a little, but it's like, come on, it's like half a second, and then, you know, also if you don't want to be perfectly in tune with the other person, like, because when you're a little bit off, you get a nice little bit of flange phasing, whatever, and this sounds cool, you know. You don't want to be I'm talking about techno, you know. If you're doing techno, you want to just forget about tunings to a certain extent. You know, because it's
it depends on what tuning is. I mean, I mean, if tuning means being exactly on the same frequency hertz, like the exact same note, you know, then okay, there's no way I consider that. But you can have harmonics which are not necessarily forced to a scale, but still are making sense in compared to whatever else is going on, you know. There's definitely that, you know. So there's, even though it might be out of tune in a music theory kind of way, it might still sound coherent when you're doing it, and I think that's way more important than, you know, hitting the right note or the right scale or the right theoretical companion to whatever's going on, you know.
I think if you try to you run into problems with that when you try to make your live set sound like a DJ set, because then you have to worry about everything being in tune, and the kick drum is the right for the bass, and you don't have time for that, you know, for in a live setting, but you have to just embrace it. But if you're trying to make, you know, recreate tracks live or make it sound like everything like a DJ set, then you have problems, and then you have to worry about all that tuning. But if you just embrace it being live and a little bit loose, then you don't have to worry about that, I feel like. But if you're trying to do something that sounds already produced, then it is much more difficult and not necessarily worth it, in my opinion.
Kukuru, tuning is what I do to my...
Yeah, exactly. It's the only tuning you should be.
He's got a quick call then, isn't he? He's got a quick call, mate.
That's
Yeah,
great.
tuning is what you do to cars. Exactly.
Double exhaust, like. I think he has a driver's license, man, so I don't know anything about it. Dude. Yeah,
No, but I definitely agree. It's you know, I mean, you have to consider the environment where people experience sets like this. You know, it's gonna sound different from anywhere in the room where you are standing. It's gonna sound different on you know, in every club. It's gonna sound different in, you know, like the acoustics and the environment is such a big part of how it comes across and what vibe it creates in the room. And I think managing those things, like you know, getting your idea across in that particular situation with that particular sound system and with that particular crowd is way more important than whether things are in tune or whether, you know, it musically makes sense or whatever. You know, it's about the energy and the, you know, dynamics of what you're doing, and it's about the, you know, the build-ups, the tension, the, you know, the sense of risk, you know, the communication with the audience. That's all way more important than tune or being chromatically correct.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, tuning is a defined scale by whoever, you know.
Yeah.
I guess
Well, I mean,
probably
you gotta-
depends
you
on
can-
the music you're doing also, you know. If you're going to
Absolutely.
play like
Exactly.
some Detroit Strings, you better be in key.
Better be in
you
tune,
know?
yeah.
Otherwise it's gonna be- So that's moments for difficult. You know, when I'm going on the
Exactly.
keyboard and I play keys, yeah, all right, I better be in tune because otherwise it won't
Yeah,
sound
yeah.
that nice, you know. So,
Yeah. But I think
Yeah.
for the music that we are, all four of us play, though, you know, you can be very loose
Free.
with it.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah, it's
and-
more about
it-
frequencies.
Go to the loo quickly. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but-
Go to
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Atonality is also a thing. You know, you should never forget about using atonal frequencies and stuff because they also have a place creatively and musically. You know, they create a certain emotion, they create a certain vibe, and especially in a club. You know, to me, like a major chord in a club, it just sounds awful. I don't know, it's my own personal experience, but hearing something more atonal or diminished or like something that more generally towards like a jazz chord or something is much more physical in a club than a straight harmonic fifth or whatever. You know, it's just, I don't know. And that, you know, that's personal preference, I guess, and the music that you play. But, you know, that's why I really love techno because it really embraces atonality. And that side of things. So, yeah.
Chris Allen is dropping in. Hey, what's up, Chris? Question for Lady Starlight and Blawan. How do you handle stereo elements in your live performances? Or do you tend to keep everything mono? Is there something you think about stereo?
Yeah, I use stereo, yeah.
How?
With effects. Only with effects, never with on the mixer. So I usually have a set where everything's mono. I think Arthur uses a synthesizer that has a stereo output, and with stereo. But again, it's the same. The way that it creates a stereo field is with effects delays, basically. So yeah, we use a big bank of effects. And we have them all on the aux. And if I want the synth to be wider, then I'll put a reverb or a delay on it. And yeah, ping pong delay or something. And that's really the only way you can do it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I keep it mono.
You keep it mono, yeah. Because the thing is, though, I mean, stereo just also
You
causes
don't have enough
people
monitoring properly to get into that.
Sure, that can be one issue, but the other thing is that let's say you have a room of 2,000 people, only maybe 200 people are getting the full stereo experience. And
Exactly.
if you're in front of the PA on the far left of the room, you're gonna miss everything that's going on the right. So
and that's why you should never really touch the pans on the desk. Really, you should only really do it with effects, because unless you're doing a creative thing with the stereo field, you got, like you say, you got a large proportion of the audience who just don't know what the hell you're doing.
It's going to be out of balance for most people. Yeah. We're talking about stereo while you were at the loop. Stereo.
We're finished now, man. It's over.
Yeah.
Do without me. Huh?
Thanks for being here, man. Really good to see you.
It's quite a bit up. We got run all the way to the hallway.
Question from TRSCTR. I don't know how to pronounce that. It's probably a trick on me to make me struggle. Do you try to recreate things you improvise at gigs when you are in the studio afterwards?
I just did that, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done that. And just like last week, I did that. It wasn't very successful, but I did try. Because I listened back to a set I had done a live stream for, so I had like because there's no way if you're improvising, you have to obviously have a recording of it, or you can't remember. I don't remember what I did, but yeah, I just did that. So
could you get the same thing? Were you able to recreate the same thing that you felt when you were doing it though?
No, but it was the basic idea of it.
Right.
So I tried, but it wasn't the same. It didn't work very well, I have to say, but I did try.
One of the really unexpected things that I noticed when I was talking about using a looper before, and the looper that I used is I've been using a looper now for like 6 years, and now because it saves everything I do, I have I have 6 years worth of stems from every single live set that I've got. So man, I have this old shit on my computer now, and if I've got some ideas of thinking out there, then I just go back into my Boss Looper archive. There's something from 2014. Bang! It's in there and it's working. And
wow! Does it keep everything inside the machine?
Everything.
Wow!
Yeah.
How big is the memory?
It's quite big. I think you can record like 500 hours or something.
Wow, dude, that could be an awesome sound pack.
Oh mate, I think it's pretty big. It's pretty big. I mean, there's easily like 10 albums worth of material. But it's cool, man. It's also with the Karen stuff and my own solo live stuff I did. It's all there. Like all those little tiny little 1-bar sequences that really killed it in the club. It's all there. Drums, everything. Yeah. So this is also a good reason to use loopers, because you're not getting just the stereo record. You've got whole stems of what you did. Not everything, because obviously you don't loop everything up. But usually when I layer a lot of synths, and to have all those layers separated and unaffected is really killer, man. I mean, I wrote a lot of that stuff's made it into music, into tracks that I released, So, yeah.
That's amazing.
Wow. Yeah, actually, that's really good. Yeah.
I know.
I would recommend it. I mean, yeah, it's brilliant. You can build up tracks really easy. And like I said, you've got these big fucking buttons on there, so you see it's really easy. You want to delete it, you hold the stop button down for 2 seconds, but it's just simple,
I have the SP16 thing by Pioneer, and you can basically do live looping too, which is like 16 bars or something. Okay. But I hardly use it. Maybe that's something to think about too in the future.
I thought about, like, if anyone's listening to this who's good with.
No, nobody's listening.
Nobody's listening.
We're just chatting amongst.
No, because I always thought, because I really love the Boss. I mean, it's a RC505. It's a cheap I've bought 4 of them because they break, you know, and they're not cheap, and but I really would like to design my own version of this that was basically the same but just more robust, and you know, and that's something I hope I can do one day because I'm sick of buying them, but it's so important to my live workflow, this little cheap beatboxing machine. That I would anyone who's interested in playing live, just give it a go. If you can borrow one or whatever, just give it a try and you'll be like so yeah,
that's awesome.
I'm
well,
inspired.
especially the fact that it just remembers or saves all the sort of instant. Yeah, I mean, there's something about throwing things together without thinking when you're in a live situation, and especially if you keep all of them and you use them in a different context, you know, there are probably some gems in there.
Stuff. And also the great thing is with this machine, you've got 5 stereo tracks, but what you've got all your stuff, you're looping it up. It's good. It sounds more techno because it's looped. And
everything sounds techno when it's looped.
You know, you don't have these, like when you're using a drum machine or a synth, you've got these microtonal changes that you don't necessarily hear, but your ear knows this is not as techno as it should be. And but because you've got these faders with all these parts, you can suddenly take your live set to the next level because you can suddenly start creating structure. Real structure to the songs. You know, you can take it out, you can bring it down slowly, and then you can push it back up again, all with just 2 hands, and you don't have to worry about putting a filter or whatever. It's all your structures there, you know, and you can make your live set way more complex and dynamic, you know, by having layers of loops. So I mean, you can do this shit on a computer, you know, but again, it's like just this simplicity thing with this machine that really helps, you know.
Yeah, that's the thing that always comes up. You know, it's you know, of course you could do it on a computer. You can do you can basically replicate basically every function of every piece of gear that you have in a computer. But the process is so important. You know, it's not having the possibility to do anything else than that is making you, you know, it forces you to basically use its limited features and get the most out of it, and that could have guides you in getting to a result much quicker than if you have all these options, kind of, you know, lurking in the background. Yeah. Cedric is saying time to buy a looper. Yes, Cedric, go for it, man. Buy a looper.
I mostly all my first releases were basically on computer. I didn't really used to use hardware, but the last 5 years I really got into it. And it is a different way of just hands-on, and it's quicker for my idea now. Because I would like overproduce with software, if you know what I mean. So,
I mean, I think we've all been there, right? I mean, it is so tempting, and I've talked about this before. But if my studio would burn down, it would still be a computer that my first purchase would be. You know, like that's the first thing I would get back, because it's virtually limitless. You can do everything, every bloody. Everything. You can do everything. It is just a process that can be daunting, and it can be, you know, limiting to your creativity because you have all the options available all the time, which, you know, can be confusing. Surgeon is a big fan of loopers.
I do remember. I remember Tony used to use that weird little. Tony, what was that thing called that you used?
I think it was an MMS or.
Oh man, that looks such a pain in the ass, man.
Actually,
I know, but
he's got it. He's got it. I think he still uses it, but I mean, I did shows with him together, and that's basically what he uses to layer things. You know, just have something, he just throws it in and just keep stacking stuff on top.
He was
electro-harmonics.
That's the one. We also, I also used to use one of those. I also used to use one of those. But it's important, man, to use a looper in techno. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. Everything you loop for 1 or 2 bars is instant groove. You know, I guess instant repetition is. You know, it's the I sometimes wonder. I've tried it how much you can shorten or extend a loop before it starts not being musical. I think maybe from my ears, maybe 8 bars is probably the limit. If you go beyond that, it doesn't sound like a loop anymore.
No.
And maybe 4 or 8, and shorter than half a bar is the same. You know, if you go shorter than that.
1 bar and 2 bar, man, is brilliant.
Yeah, 1 and 2 is one and 2 is yeah.
I mean, it depends what type of music, right? I mean, I usually have it set where on the 5 channels I have 1 bar, 1 bar, 2 bar, 2 bar, and then 1 8 bar at the end. And so they structure it like, as you can imagine, drums and bass line on 1, more interesting leads on 2 bars, and then pads and evolving stuff on the 8. And give it away.
With the boss looper, can you do what are your options for like looping?
Endless.
Like,
you can do a 500-hour loop.
Can you do it like
a loop? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right,
wow.
But you can set it up. You can. I think I might be wrong in the number. Maybe someone in the chat can correct me, but it's pretty long. And like you can have like obviously 1 beat loops or as much as the hard drive can record. Basically, nice. It's not, and you could also, they can be independent as well, so they don't have to be synced and stuff. So if you want to do some weird syncopated stuff, like some experimental music, you've also got that option with it. You know, it's pretty cool. I just wish it wasn't like a Plastic Fantastic thing, you know, because it's really cheap. You know. It just needs to be more rugged when you're a touring musician, man. I mean, like I say, I've been using it 6 years and I've gone through 4. It's really, and it's like the thing's like €400, you know. So like,
that's not nothing.
Yeah.
So
when you make yours, I'll buy it. I'll be your first customer. You make it.
I think you're selling a lot of loopers tonight.
Yeah. You say anyone at Rolling, you know, you can hit me up, man.
You should be endorsed. You should be endorsed by them, mate.
Exactly. Send you 4 for all the ones that you shouldn't have had to buy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe they can reimburse me.
So you said it has a hard drive, but does it actually have a physical drive?
I think it's a solid state.
Oh right, okay. I was gonna say that's just asking for trouble if it.
No, it's not a hard drive.
Yeah,
it's solid. I just.
Zuxwang X, importance of high fidelity ADDA converter in the signal chain. I would say, I mean, in the studio, it's really important. You know, I mean, the short story is shit in, shit out. You know, so if you don't capture, if you don't capture your stuff well, if you don't capture your stuff for high quality, it's gonna always sound, you know, limited. And actually, if you got something recorded really well, if you have a really high def A to D converter in your studio, it just makes a lot of EQing and compression and all, you know, kinds of trickery obsolete, because it's just recorded really well, and it saves you a lot of time. If it's recorded well, you have way more possibilities to just handles everything easier, you know, because it's there in high def, and you can hear all the subtleties in your sound. You don't have to bring out any details that you want to hear. It's all there, so you can work way more subtractive than if you have bad sounding AD converters. In subtractive, I mean, you just get rid of the stuff you don't want, and the stuff that remains is still high quality. And if you have low quality A to D, then you find yourself pushing for certain frequencies much more, and try to, you know, over EQ things a lot more, because you want something out of it which isn't there. You know, you just want to have stuff happening which is not recorded properly.
Yeah. Also preamps. I would say the 2 most important things, especially if you've got like drum machines and whatever external stuff, you should always get good A to D converters and good preamps, because like you say, you won't need to start EQing, you won't need to start compressing. You'll suddenly realize that, well, my music sounds alive.
You don't have to try to make. It's like resuscitating a dead person, you know. You don't have to start injecting the sound with stuff that's not there.
Yeah,
because it's
You don't need
yeah, but that's what a lot of, like it's really interesting point what you said, Joachim, about like when you've got good preamps and a good converter, you're only subtracting. You're not adding distortion by using like compensating with boosting EQ or anything. You know, if you can mix a track where you've only cut, then you've done something right and not wrong. You know, which is a good way to start.
it's also just a really waste of buying expensive hardware. You know, if you buy like for example, if you're into synthesis and you spend like shitloads of money on your modular and hardware synths, like you know your Moogs and I don't know whatever you like stuff that has a massive dynamic range. If you have stuff like that sitting around and recorded with some crappy AD converter, you just lose 90% of the dynamics of machines like that. You know, it's just a waste of money. I would, you know, it's just not. I mean, you could get away with it if you use like 8-bit samplers and you know just have low quality input anyway. But yeah, just to have the range to record every subtle detail of any type of equipment that you have is going to save you a lot of trouble afterwards, and you'll enjoy your instruments better because you can zoom into the. I mean, there's nothing as good as zooming into sound, right?
Yeah.
sitting behind a synth to see what it can do, you know, just explore the full range of things and just see what it can do and just play with all the subtle characteristics that a certain machine offers you and be able to really zoom into that is just not possible with crappy sound cards.
But if you're a big resampler, like resampling, you know, I do that a lot. Because you really on a computer you can do some really crazy shit if you just resample. If you get a good converter that can and time stretching or whatever, pitch shifting, you know, if you can record at 96 kilohertz, you're gonna get so much more information to play around with, so much more creative room that you're not just gonna destroy the audio. You know, this is also why you should get a good sound card, a good converter, really, to record it the highest possible quality, you know. Yeah.
What is a good AD converter? Is Burkunk Jesse, I believe, is asking that on Twitch. Is a mid-range USB multi-track mixer a bad plan? Maxi or Soundcraft? I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it depends on what you want to do. Yeah.
How much money you
Exactly.
Yeah, just buy a 20,000 euro AD converter. No,
but you know what? Like if you can buy an Apogee Duet, you'll write good stuff with that. It's a great sounding sound card.
To be honest,
how much it costs, but you know,
yeah, it's like 600-700.
Yeah,
I don't know, but it's a stereo in, but at least you would be able to capture everything high def. Yeah, that's a good one for a project studio, I guess.
Yeah.
Thing is, once you go over a certain price range, if you're into if you're like in the Apogee, Lynx, UAD kind of range, then you're fine. You can go steps beyond that, but it's only going to add like 1% of extra definition or stuff you can only hear on really, really, really high quality monitoring systems. So if you're just reasonable, if you just have the not like lower range but like upper mid range sound converters, then you're probably fine. Just don't go for the dirt cheap ones, like the really ghetto cheap ones. Yeah, then you're gonna really miss out. Yeah, you're just gonna really miss a lot of detail.
Yeah, for sure.
So
yeah.
The most expensive one you can afford.
Yeah.
And then again, I mean, so many amazing records have been made on crappy sound gear. I mean, it's not always necessary to produce an amazing track or an amazing song if you don't actually own one. But it's just if you spend a lot of time in your studio and you're spending a lot of money on synths and gear, then it makes sense to also think about getting a good sound card. I think that sums it up, right? I guess.
Totally, man. I think that's
Yeah.
as much as you can say on that one. Yeah.
So what else? We've already been talking for almost 2 hours, people.
I know.
Oh, wow.
It went by really fast.
Yeah,
I know, right?
somebody just mentioned the Burl B2. I also have this ADC converter because it's got transformers in it, and that's anyone who was in for
fancy.
a high end one. This one's a good one.
Which one is it?
It's the Burl B2 bomber. It's got a transformer on it, so you can really like knock it into the red, and it sounds amazing. And convert analog to digital converter. I use
Is that
this
your only one, or do you have several others? So you have different flavors.
I don't know if you can see it actually.
Don't rip out your cords.
Yeah. So it's here, and then it goes with the fancy cable. What's the cable called? It looks a bit like anyway. It's a digital cable that goes into the Fireface. The Fireface is just basically just to convert the digital output of this Burl into my computer. But I use. It's the only AD converter I use where I can hear the sound difference. We get to, like you mentioned, you get to a certain level, and you can spend God knows how much on a converter. But if you can buy a converter for €1,200, €1,800, you probably it's about as high end as a normal person would need.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
But when I got the B2 bomber, when I'm sort of really knocking it into the hot zone, you can really hear the difference, And so anyone who's into a higher end thing, I would recommend getting. I'll try one out at least, anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, one last thing. I mean, this is not Twiddlers, after all, right? I mean, all the blinking lights, but the outboard stuff you've got going on is something, and it's really interesting to me. So. You process some stuff in the box partly, and you also run stuff outside the box just to flavor it. Yeah. Yeah. So what is the stuff you got as outboard to just
I'll show you.
mess with the sound? Yeah.
Giving away my fucking secrets.
You don't have to.
No, it's all right. So hang on, let's turn the screens up because it's a little bit.
Nobody's going to use it the way you do.
No, it's all right. It's all right. I'm only joking. So. Yeah, I mean, I use this is my summon amp mixer. It's a busted. So I use this a bit complicated. It depends on how it's wired up very strangely with my mixer. But and this also has nice features where you've got bass to mono and whatever. So this is really important because I don't have to do it in the box and stuff like that.
So that would sit on your stereo.
This
bus,
is on the
right?
master stereo bus. Yeah. And then it goes. Hello, and then it goes from this. Then I go into direct. Oh no, I'm sorry if you can see this actually, but let me just see. Hang on, just this machine here. This is a clipper. It's and this is the first stage. So this just gently soft clips all the transients I've got because when I use a modular, and I don't really want to knock the compression out like really too much, so I really just knock off the transients, like the really sharp transients at the top, and then that just gives me a softer thing to work with this stuff. And then I have a multi-band compressor, a Mazerlac MLA4, which is fucking amazing. Then another compressor after that, which is the I can't remember the name of it, but it's the Giraffe G24, I think. And and then I go into a passive equalizer, and then into a culture vulture. That's it.
That's a hell of a chain, man.
Yeah,
and
you
have everything engaged all the time.
But yeah, everything is always on. I'm always like adjusting a lot for color. I'm expanding a lot on the multi-band compressor, usually in the mids. Doing some major de-essing on the high channel, so that's always like knocking out like maybe 9 even 20 dB de-essing sometimes. So I'm always really heavy on the de-essing because it allows me to make the track brighter and still cut it to record quite well and stuff. It's a lot. It's a lot of stuff going on there. It's quite. I know we've been talking a lot now, but
no, it's cool. I mean, that's just really interesting. I mean, but I mean, those are all really specific pieces of gear with very subtle characters. So I assume you didn't get all those in one go, right? Because it takes a while to really learn what these things do and discover all the subtleties, right?
This is a lot of years of testing stuff and getting rid of stuff. And this setup for me, it's been like this for a few years now because I'm just really happy with the level of control I've got over my music. I can make it really loud, and you know, I have this clipper here where I can shave off 4 dB of the whole track and you can't even hear it. It's not, you know, and that allows me to really, especially with a modular where you've got these really poppy transients, I can really get them.
So basically, this is like a full-blown mastering stage chain, you know. So
exactly.
Does your music go to a mastering third-person mastering place afterwards still, even though
I mean, it depends on the track a lot, but a lot of the time they're not really doing much. Just no. I mean,
good job, Jamie. Here's your track.
No.
I made it half dB louder.
But actually, a lot of the time they make it quieter. I'm not trying to blow smoke up my ass, but I'm with the master chain. I really got to a point now where when I go to the mastering engineer, the good point from when I get my masters back, if I can't hear a difference, I know I've done all right. But sometimes I have tracks where they completely changed the sound of the thing, and I'm happy with that. I mean, I use E&M in Berlin, and I use Helmet, and he's really, and the thing I always say to my mastering engineer, I just send him. I say, I'm looking for color, I'm looking for warmth. You do your thing. I know you're always going to do a good job, and then that's it.
Yeah.
I don't nitpick and say, oh, I want this louder here or whatever. It's just like, you do your thing. And usually they don't do too much. I never limit anything. My track, some things, I mean, I had a turn-esque that I had to do to another mastering engineer, and I wasn't so happy with it. But I'm looking for like just dynamic and unlimited mastering. So, and that's kind of where I'm at the minute with that stuff. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, cool. Sorry, running off a little bit there.
No, please.
No, because you know, I'm like always like I'm like this guy who I think I'm really into the idea of becoming a mastering engineer, but I know I would fucking hate it. So, I just do it for my own stuff. So I'm really into that kind of side of stuff.
Yeah, it's like it's basically if you're in, you know, if you're producing electronic music, it's basically just an extension of what you're doing, you know, sort of down the chain as well. You know, it's like sort of, you know, fine tuning things all the time until you hit this space where you're happy with the sound. I guess, you know, it's a very similar process. But if you would be a mastering engineer, Jamie, you'll get a lot of awful tracks to work with. Like you have to really shut off your brain and just be completely immune for what you're hearing and just really focus on the technical side of things. But
and that's terrible because, you know, the marriage between creativeness and technical skill is, if you get to that point, you know, this is the aim for everybody.
Yeah,
to be
exactly.
completely in your music, to be completely independent of any outside influence. Master engineer, mix engineer, any of these people, you know, you do everything yourself, and it's the reason. I guess it's the reason why you got this vinyl live. You know, the idea that I can make my track and cut it to a record and no one's touched it but me. It's my music. It's all mine. That's where I want to be as a producer. You know, I don't want to be relying on other people. I get it a master engineer because I trust his vinyl cuts. Yeah, and that's it. So
yeah, and it never hurts to have a second opinion, just to have somebody point out some detail that you missed or that you didn't want to sacrifice, you know, because you got attached to the thing during the process, whatever, you know, and you leave it in because you think you need it there, but somebody else might say, you don't need that, you know, you can just, you know, dip that or, you know, get rid of it or whatever. Yeah. So, but yeah, I totally agree, man. The whole final cutting thing is like the whole process, you know, to be able to make decisions right up till the very, very end of all the stages is just really satisfying. You know,
Yeah,
it's
it is.
yeah.
So,
Awesome. I mean, we should keep it at this, otherwise it's going to be too lengthy for for the podcast. But what we do every episode is give everybody a few minutes to promote or talk about things that we can expect from them, or like, you know, things you've been working on, you want to have people know about, or anything, you know, like sets you're doing, or I don't know, whatever. Charlton, you got anything coming up you want to share?
Yeah, I've got things coming up. I've got things coming up with you. And I just signed a new mod release, which is going to be a bit different than, you know, banging techno. We signed some experimental tracks with me. So that's going to be fun. And for all you guys that are into modular stuff, I'm actually trying to create and design a kick drum now, because I think that's a lot of fun. So I start diving in breadboards and really nerdy stuff. So I do it with some guys here on the premise too. So hopefully
a new
we'll have
kick
a...
module?
you mean a kick
yeah.
module?
A kick
That's
module.
good.
Yeah.
They're not. I've not found one that I'm happy with, to be perfectly honest.
it's-
So
Oh, you should talk to
yeah,
Charlton.
I'm like, do
It's
some
gonna
testing
be,
for you.
I would like to hear things people would like to. It's gonna be basically be Gabba kick, yeah. So,
Rotterdam style.
Obviously.
You are in Rotterdam.
we're here. So, yeah, I'm really trying to get in more into that, and I never thought I would do this, but yeah, cheerio, man. Here
That's
I am.
great.
What-
That's
what-
awesome.
Yeah.
It's a really good idea. What stage
great.
is the project in at the moment?
We're like at early stages, but we're getting there, man. We're getting there.
Is there a place where people can send you the input of their ideas, or you know, is it just
see.
friends? Is it just friends, or is there a place
It's
where?
friends of mine. It's friends of mine.
Right.
But, yeah, just charlton.ravenberg@gmail.com or something. I'll probably make another. I'll just give a private email out, man.
It'll only be on the internet forever, you know.
Yeah. I just,
You know-
just change my email up right now.
Yeah, I think so,
Yeah, man. So, that's basically what I've been up to, man. People, yeah, making a lot of music and doing this on the side. Yeah, it's
Nice,
quite
man.
been quite
Sounds
interesting.
amazing.
Yeah.
That is
So,
cool.
any where can people find your current stuff? Like, well, be quick, because that one is going to be taken after in like a few minutes.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Pardon, what did you say, young man?
I forgot.
Well, let's go to the next person.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, I was going to say, sorry, Colleen, sorry, but I was going to say,
No,
where can
no.
people find your stuff? Do you have a Bandcamp or anything you want
I've got a Bandcamp. I cannot. This is out of the top. I think it's Charlton/Thepurist at bandcamp.com.
to? Okay.
And it's still empty, but I'm gonna throw all my back catalog on there soon. So
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
I think Sander will find it and put it in the comments somewhere. So
Cheers.
thanks, man.
Yeah, man.
Colleen, what can we expect from you? Anything you want to share?
Well, there's a bunch of things happening, none of which I'm sure I can talk about. So I don't want to
Don't.
like blow the, you know what I mean? I could, it's better to say nothing than say
Sure.
the wrong thing, right?
Yeah.
But I've been working on blah blah. I've been working on an album. It's so
Wow.
it's exciting. I mean, it's like, oh God, and who isn't working on an album right now? But
Yeah, exactly.
it's actually happening. My first album, so it's going really well. I've never actually had a concept and written music for the concept. I always just write what comes to my head and sounds right. So this is the first time I've been trying to interpret an idea that has nothing to do with music into music. So it's very, very, very rewarding and really
Awesome.
fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah. So
Yeah, it is.
okay. Well, yeah. Let's not. I'm not gonna try
And then
to
a
get
bunch
any.
of things. Stay tuned. Stay tuned in the next
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Cool. Jamie, anything you want to share with people? Anything?
Yeah. I mean, I have. There's Turnesk 8 is coming on vinyl next week. No, Friday, and then number 9 is already in production. It's double pack 6 of non-techno stuff. So,
nice.
Yeah, I think there's one techno track on that. Techno. But yeah, so I'm doing a lot of non-techno stuff at the minute. So that the next thing will be out. I think the like as everybody knows, the pressing plants are completely jammed at the minute. So I think I mastered this in January, and it's got a release date of June. Which is shocking. So the digital will be out first. I think I'm not sure when, but maybe in a few weeks. So 6 tracks.
Awesome. And where will people be able to find that?
It'll be on my Bandcamp, but also everywhere. Digitally everywhere. I'm not going to do the only Bandcamp thing this time, so it'll be available Spotify and all those YouTubers uploading stuff for free. So yeah, so thanks for that. Yeah, wicked. So you'll be able to find it anywhere.
Okay, cool, man. We'll keep an eye out for that. I guess the only thing I wanted to drop is if people don't know, we are running a Discord server where we continue the conversation, kinds of conversations we have on Knob Twiddlers. And it's just a bunch of people talking tech and music and posting a lot of interesting stuff. Links should be in the description or in the chat somewhere now. It's a really nice community, and we're having a lot of fun there. So if you want to join us there, check it out. And the other thing is we have a Patreon page where you can support this podcast, or you can, there's some higher tiers with masterclasses and sound packs and stuff like that. So if you're interested in this, have a look there, and there should be a link too. And other than that, it's that's it for me. So thank you, Charlton. I see you. I guess I'll see you in the next few
week,
weeks.
Maybe, yeah.
To finish the.
Maybe you have time. Yeah. Cool, man.
So thanks for hanging out, and also Colleen, Lady Starlight. Really great to see you.
Thank you for
again.
having me. Good to see you too.
Yeah, lovely to have you on as always. Thanks for everybody who was watching, and thank you, Jamie. Good to see you, man. Really nice to catch up.
You too. It's good to see you again.
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
fun. Yeah, man.
So thanks for the people who watched on Twitch and YouTube, and we see everybody next week. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.